All right. Good afternoon and happy Friday for those of you if this is your last day of work for the week. My name is Deanne Battle and this is the Composite. We are a hodgepodge talk show. I'm an English teacher by trade, writer by passion. And I have a show for about almost a year and a half now. This is season 4, episode 13. And we're going to do something a little bit different today. I'll talk you through it. All right. So what I want to do is start out with a couple of news articles, then some poetry, and then I want to round up with a meditation. I've talked in the previous episodes, a few episodes about I've been speaking to people and who've suggested meditation. I feel like my creator is suggesting meditation, but it's always been super hard for me. So I was like, oh, we could try a meditation on the show and see what happens. All right. So yeah, different for me, but I'm open to change. All right. Okay. So first things first, how are folks doing with the Microsoft outage, CrowdStrike outage? So I did want to start talking about that. Now, apologies if you hear me sneeze or if I sound congested. It's just really bad hay fever season with the heat waves and everything. And, the medicine, it only gets me but so far. So we will roll with the punches. Okay. All right. So do that. Now, I have this article here pulled up. Or I thought I did. Where is it? Did I not? Oh, just a moment. Sorry. I thought I opened an article in another window, and I guess I must have closed it. Excuse me. Alrighty. We'll see how long I stay together here. All right. So, I'm just going to look for the updates. And I did have the article pulled up, but c'est la vie with this thing here. All right, so let's go with the Independent, right? Because that was an update that they did 43 minutes ago, right? So the Independent out of the UK. And the article is Microsoft IT outage live, CrowdStrike boss deeply sorry as airline and hospital chaos could last for days. Oh, whoa. See, here's the thing. The two quick updates that I saw earlier before I hopped on, I think one of the titles said something to the effect that, oh, this is not going to have like any long lasting effects or whatever. So it's getting to the point where anytime you see something in the media, you have to like 1984 it and just take the opposite view, because that's definitely not what the other piece was saying. Okay, so I'll read a little bit from this. Now, here's the thing. I really hope if you have experienced some fallout from this, that it hasn't been too terrible, but we have a very interconnected world, and it's controlled by, a smaller and smaller number of monopolies. And so, I feel like this is going to be more of the norm and not less. It says a worldwide Windows glitch has taken much of the world's infrastructure offline. Flights were grounded and hospitals across the world have reported a variety of problems. TV channels have been taken off air. Everything from banks and payment companies to airlines and train companies said that they would see delays and technical issues. Oh, Times Square went dark? Okay, so this was... wow. See, for me, I was taking it easy today. In addition to the allergy situation, I've got this thing right, like in between my shoulder blades on the left side, and it's been flaring up for the last couple of days. I don't know if I sleep wrong or whatever, but I was just like, oh, okay, yeah, we're feeling the age today. So I was like, I'm just gonna take it easy. So I wasn't doom scrolling for a change. I was just kind of chilling out, until it was time to, like, it got closer to time to do the show. And so, I'm sitting there having coffee, water, whatever, and I'm like, do. And then, I even logged on to my work computer, and I'm like, oh, okay, the one time this doesn't affect, my job as a teacher. And, I can't imagine, in terms of traveling or in terms of having an emergency, being in the hospital. This was probably felt very scary. So the problem is related to a global update sent out by CrowdStrike, a cybersecurity company that makes a product that aims to keep computers safe. So CrowdStrike CEO George Kurtz later issued a statement reassuring customers that the outage was not a security incident or a cyber attack. Okay, so it was just a screw up, I guess. And this guy is still probably going to make millions of dollars a year. All right, so it was just a super quick update from them. But I used to work at a tech company before I became a teacher. And, one of the guys that I worked with, he had an IT background. And this is according to him, so obviously it's hearsay, but he said that this is how it goes, right? So you work on the cybersecurity side, and you get your steady paycheck that way, and then you work on the hacking side because in cybersecurity you are uniquely qualified, right, to know how to break these systems and how to get into them. And so he said that he definitely had friends that were getting two paychecks, right? They work on the side with the corporations, and then they also do these like contract jobs, basically hacking. And so if that's true, then the call is coming from inside the house, which, I mean, if they're saying it was a mess up, then what I'm saying wouldn't be as far-fetched necessarily. But all of that being said, if there's not a certain level of accountability for it, then it's bound to happen again. Excuse me. And then also, mistakes happen, so it might be a mistake as well. I try to temper myself between how much I allow myself to speculate versus just taking things at face value, but it's very hard in our current iteration of the world to really take things at face value. See if I can find another piece on this. Let's go to CNBC. I was really, in the other article, like I said, that I had before I hopped on, I was really struck by like how devastating this could possibly be for small businesses that are, have to ask people to pay with cash now because, their machines and stuff are down. So that's who it's going to hurt the most, honestly. And I don't know if they're going to, well, most likely they won't receive any sort of compensation. This is another quote from their CEO. It says, their company is actively working with customers impacted by a defect found in a single content update for Windows hosts, and stressing that Macs and Linux hosts are not affected. So I know, like, for those people that are very like diehard Mac folks, I can see them, with their air of superiority in this whole situation. Shares of CrowdStrike closed down 11%, because that always has to be the last consideration, right? Another thing that I wanted to think about is, several episodes ago, I started talking about, right, cumulative effects of having constant access to information and the effect that it has on us. My allergy medication is working less and less by the second. Definitely not going to be smooth today at all. All right, but the cumulative effects of the access to information, and how sometimes it feels like the sky is falling just because you're seeing everything at once, whereas before the internet, you had to, like, it was more challenging to get information, so you were just kind of off in your world. And so I was thinking about that, because that was me today. I was on the internet, but I wasn't really checking news, and so I didn't realize anything was going on because it wasn't affecting me. And I was thinking about the type of day I had versus someone who might have been stuck at a hospital, or who might have been stuck at an airport. And there was a study done by the Pew Research Center, and to be fair, it's from December 2022, but I thought it would be maybe good to bring some of this in a sense of, like, how are we viewing the ways in which we engage with the internet. I was talking to one of my friends that has children, and she was saying, like, how challenging it is to navigate and negotiate, how her daughter has access to her phone as the mom, because her daughter doesn't have a phone yet, but she does have a tablet. And so, regulation of screen time has definitely been an issue. And, the ways in which we've changed our technological landscape, but that doesn't necessarily mean we've changed our capacity as humans. And so today is one of those days where I am definitely aware of that. So let's see here. A couple of things from this study. And honestly, folks, the reason I see the CrowdStrike situation and our complete access to global information, if you're someone who is privileged to have the internet, right? Because I recognize that not everyone does. Or if you're privileged to have, your own device, right? Because not everyone has that. There's a way in which our general culture, and I'll just speak as someone who's a citizen of the United States, has become so frenetic around every little change that happens, whether it's in terms of politics, whether it's in terms of geopolitical conflict, whether it's in terms of cultural issues. And so it's like there are all of these constant updates, literally, right? Every second. And there's just something about the assassination attempt last Saturday that have put things in a different perspective for me, as someone who creates content to a certain extent and who wants to be informed, but who doesn't want to be hyperbolic. And it seems like in this particular era, if you are not hyperbolic, there's people perceive that there's something wrong with you. And I think I've been on both sides of that equation, and I'm just kind of, looking at it with a different eye now. Like, questions that I've asked in this space before. Am I really seeing what I think I'm seeing? Number one. Sometimes yes, sometimes no. But then it's like, well, if I can trust what it is that I'm seeing, so what? Right? What am I going to do differently? What does that change for how I'm living my life? And honestly, sometimes the answer comes back, well, nothing, right? Because if there's nothing that I can do I continue to hold space for this issue, for a certain group of people, so on and so forth? So, is there actually something I can do? And then also, there are certain things that are inevitable, right? Last episode, I was talking about different articles related to our current environmental crisis, which, according to which scientist you speak to, is really at a point of no return, right? So if I personally can't do something about an issue, or if my actions somehow cannot change a trajectory, is there a certain degree of trauma or self-harm that comes with holding on to something so tightly? And I don't know the answer to these questions, but again, I'm just trying to be more reflective for myself in terms of how, I see any one given thing, right? Now, this could be, an almost empty water bottle, depending on your perspective, or it could be, no, you've got enough water left for, 2 or 3 more swallows. And life is so short. I'm like, maybe I should be more on the side of there are 2 or 3 more swallows. Right? And so this Pew study here says, when asked whether social media, so this is looking, again, particularly at those social media apps, not necessarily digital media as a whole. When asked whether social media is a good or bad thing for democracy in their country, a median of 57% across 19 countries say that it is a good thing. In almost every country, close to half or more say this, with the sentiment most common in Singapore, where roughly 3/4 believe social media is a good thing for democracy in their country. However, in the Netherlands and France, about 4 in 10 agree. Interesting. So 4 in 10 agree, and France, they just had an uprising after their last round of elections. So I wonder if there's a correlation there in terms of, if we're looking at a left-right divide politically, if that, plays into it as well. So let's go to the U.S. Whoa. Okay, so in the U.S., 64% said that they felt social media was a bad thing, and 34% said it was a good thing. All right, so again, this is the Pew Research Center. And then, I know it's not a great view, so just so you can see what I'm looking at here. Excuse me. Fascinating. In the UK, it was almost 50-50. So in the UK, 48% said that they felt social media was good for democracy in their country, and then 50% said no. I think part of what we're seeing in the US, at least, and I'm just kind of processing, so I don't necessarily have a fully formed opinion, but I think part of it in the US is that social media has really become a space to voice so many as it becomes a space to voice or a place where the voiceless can use their voice. I'm trying to phrase this better. If you've not had a platform, then initially there's this rush of dissatisfaction, and so maybe because we're kind of constantly arguing and squabbling with one another, and complaining, maybe that's why people feel like it maybe not, that it's not the best thing. Yeah, sorry. Like, I don't know if I should use this as an example, but yesterday, a Facebook group that I'm in, someone did this sweeping post about how the tone was disrespectful and that how the quality of the group had gone down since a bunch of new people came into the group. And so I was feeling a particular way about that, because I'm like, oh, it was, a fun kind of escapist thing for me, while I'm just trying to figure some stuff out in my life right now. And so, yeah, log on there 2 or 3 times a day, have a really good chuckle, and then go about my business. And one of the moderators was like, dude, you just got here last month. You're talking like you're one of the founders of the group. And it was just this hilarious moment because, again, he was kind of out of his element, and he was interpreting that as, oh, because this group is not, people are not acting the way that I want them to act, then there's something wrong with the group. I think sometimes introspection is lacking on social media, right? Because it's all about externalizing, right? My comment connecting with your like or dislike, my argument refuting your argument. And then people are not taking a look at or centering, like, well, how are you, contributing or detracting from the situation? And so I think some of that plays into, right? So people here saying most social media is a good thing for democracy in their country. And so we don't feel like that in the US, because more often than not now, I see people responding to something. Like if someone doesn't appreciate what they've said, they're like, oh, you need to work on your reading comprehension because blah, 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 blah. And it's like, well, why are you immediately going to the presupposition that someone didn't read what you wrote carefully? Maybe they just disagree with you. But to be fair, I don't know if we've ever had civil disagreements in this country, right? It's a violent nation. It just is. I'm glad to be American, but I can also admit the stuff that we don't do particularly well. So let's see. I don't know who else would be a comparable. So I looked at the UK. Just out of curiosity, Spain. I've had a chance to travel to Spain. What did they respond with this? Okay, so they said 35% of their population thinks social media is a bad thing for democracy in their country. And then on the flip side of that, 61% said yes. So it seems like, wow. We, as the country, the United States, had the highest level of dissatisfaction on this entire list. And there's not really a correlation. I was about to say maybe the countries that are less politically stable see social media as a negative thing for democracy, but I haven't heard about the Netherlands or Australia being particularly unstable, or at least to the level that we are here, in recent weeks. So I don't know, they might be, but anything else of interest here? I don't know. I'm sorry. I feel a little bit scattered, so sorry with the allergies and everything. But yeah, I was just very struck because I found out about the CrowdStrike outage at I want to say 12:30 p.m. And I was, taking a few minutes to think about, would I have perceived my day differently if I knew about it at, let's say, 8:30 a.m. Okay, so this is another bar graph here, and it says most see social media making it easier to manipulate people, right? And so 85% of folks in the US say yes, it makes it easier to manipulate people. 7% said not much impact, so that's kind of like the neutral response. And then 7% said less, it makes it less easy to manipulate people. And then if we want to compare that, let's say with the UK, in the UK, 89% of people felt like it made it easier to manipulate people. 9%, those folks had like a neutral response. And then 2% felt like it made it less easy to manipulate people. Overall, yes. But my only caveat to that is, as a Black person in the United States, even though sometimes it's traumatizing, I appreciate the videos that people post when they're having negative interactions based on race, because it's just all of the times, people dismiss it and say, oh, these types of things don't happen and these people are just making it up, whether it's police interactions, whether it's, people being harassed in different stores and stuff like that. And it's just like, no, it's right here. I will say we need to get past, trying to prove something to someone, because like that doesn't really help us. But, it is validating to say, no, we're not crazy. This didn't just come out of thin air. And then it goes into a piece about misinformation here. I will definitely post the link to this because this is interesting. And you can download it as a PDF and continue to read. But my only thing is, like, if most of the news that you get is digital, when they do, what I notice now is when they do corrections and when they do updates, they don't acknowledge it as much as they used to in the past. Like, how do I phrase it? It used to be like you could see an asterisk and then you could go to the bottom of the article and says, oh, an earlier version of this said blah, blah, blah. And I think they still kind of do that to a certain extent on the New York Times and stuff, but I've definitely seen other news outlets where they update it, and if someone points out like, oh, this was wrong, they're like, oh yeah, we corrected it. But it's just like, no, there should be like a bright bold flag next to it, like, hey, we made a mistake. And it's just, unless people are very quick with stuff now, taking screenshots, you can't track it as well, right, and call people out. So there's just certain articles where if I come back to this piece in a week or 2 weeks, it'll be quote unquote corrected, but how many people actually saw the correction versus the folks that saw the original version? And you get into this dangerous game of telephone, because yes, we all have, correction, right? No, we don't all have access to information. Many of us, especially in the West, have access to this information, but we're not all accessing the right information or the same information. And so social media ends up being this place where you're just talking past each other. Excuse me. And sending article links, and sometimes people are acting in bad faith, but sometimes it's just literally like, no, they read the article 5 minutes after it came out and it was incorrect, and you read it 3 hours later and it was corrected. So when that type of stuff happens, I'm just kind of like, it's unfortunate. So what I want to do now is read a couple of poems, because if you've been here before, I like to go to, the poetryfoundation.org, and American, hey doggy, my pups is over here, sorry. And then poets.org for the poem of the day. So from poets.org, we have poet Ilyas Evander, and this poem is called Tempo. Tempo. The last bump was 8 years ago. I pray the man who sold it to me goes to my heaven. I want him clean. I want to kiss him. Yes, I've been alive for centuries, trespassing through the yuck of every universe. I'm still here. I'm not here yet. Why even ask such a tired question? The body sheds the body in its sleep. Time is the only thing that passes. The more of it you've lost, the more of it you've gained. All right. So that was Ilyas Evander with Tempo. And then from the poetryfoundation.org, this is from poet Francesco Petrarca. Yeah, Francesco Petrarca. And it was translated by Martin Corliss Smith, right? And the poem is called Crap Otherness. All right. Crap Otherness. Voices escalate in the spare songs as if no driver drove them home. My gentle errors rage unquenched, part of all my written wrongs, various styles on the piano, fa li la, vain sadness. You well know it as your own. I borrow nothing from your emptiness. All the occupy, untie my limbs, time to untie with time, they say. Meanwhile, mesmerized on the dance floor, I'm drooling with my jar of pickled fruits in shadows and in bliss, as if the world could briefly satisfy my wish. Excuse me. Yeah, I'm definitely going to be logging off soon. Sorry, I'm not trying to be gross. Both of these are rhythm and music and movement related. Interesting. Okay. Hold on once more. Yeah. I've been taking the off-brand Claritin, and it's been working, but not for the last couple of weeks, boy. But I'm going to keep using it, damn it, because I need to at least finish the bottle. All right. So now, I've pulled tarot cards and oracle cards in this space, but there is this one deck here that I haven't used thus far, and it's called the True Love Reading Cards by Belinda Grace. And what I like about this is, yes, it's called True Love, but it has a lot of self-love stuff here. This is one card, reparenting yourself, and the card right behind it, boundaries. And then other cards here, abundance. So what I like about it is yes, it's called the True Love reading cards, but a lot of it is the different cards have exercises that you can do in relationship to thinking about the topic. And so the reason I purchased this deck is because I saw this woman do an oracle card spread, and she pulled this particular card. I'll just cover part of it. It's called the Silver Waterfall, and it's a woman, and she's naked, but she's in the silver waterfall. And so she actually had pulled the card in her reading and walked people through the exercise. So I thought last minute that it might be fun to do that here. Okay. So the Silver Waterfall. Stay balanced, healthy, and happy by raising your own vibration. All right. And I'll read the whole thing. Many people feel that they are always picking up on other people's negative energy and want to know how to protect themselves from this unpleasantness. They perceive the negativity to be out there and believe if they could shield themselves from it, they would feel better. The truth is that we all carry negative and positive energies, and we all have times in our lives when we feel low. To feel truly lovable and abundant, you need to be able to engage with whoever and whatever comes to you without feeling like you need some form of defense. Not only does your aura or personal energy field experience the highs and lows of everything that's going on around you, so does your nervous system and all the cells of your body. You are like a finely tuned instrument that is constantly testing the atmosphere for anything unusual, unfamiliar, or threatening. It's all out there, but barricading yourself against the world is not the solution. The best way to stay balanced and healthy in a busy world is to raise your own vibration in as many ways as possible. This means eating nutritious food, looking after your body with rest and exercise, feeding your mind with uplifting material like beautiful music, books and movies, and regular contact with nature, and cleansing yourself at the end of each day. This is done not to protect you from anything negative, but as the angels prefer to describe it, to release anything that doesn't belong to you and anything you don't need anymore. This can also be done by following the process called the silver waterfall on the next page. It is most beneficial at the end of the day, so you don't have to go to bed with more than you need to. Hold on. And I mean, ultimately, that's why I wanted to bring this here today, because that's what I'm thinking about. I'm like, what if these emotions, what if this frenetic energy and fear, how much of that is really mine, and how much of that am I just absorbing, whether it's through, digital methods, whether it's through the people around me. And so I want to be more conscious of that. All right. And so again, this is the silver waterfall exercise. And the idea is that you're imagining that you're that woman there under the waterfall and the birds and the rainbows. Excuse me. Sit or stand comfortably wherever you can have a private moment. Excuse me. Now imagine yourself standing under a glorious waterfall of silver energy and light. Let your imagination flow too. Picture a wonderful scene in a rainforest with a silver waterfall pouring out of the sky. Feel this shimmering energy flowing through and over you, washing away energy that you don't need anymore or that doesn't belong to you. Feel it or visualize it draining away into the floor, being absorbed by Mother Earth. Let the silver waterfall flow for as long as you need it to, picturing as much or as little detail as you like of the energy flowing through your aura, your hair, and every cell in your body. Let it all drain away. Now feel the refreshed light and energy that is all through and around you, tingling and sparkling, right? So for the last 3 minutes or so here, I'll try to talk you through the silver waterfall, okay? So hopefully you have a place that you feel comfortable sitting and standing. Excuse me. All right. Now you're just going to, close your eyes and be still. And imagine a silver flow of light and energy just washing over you and pushing the worry and the stress and the negativity away. Okay. So I don't think that was a full 3 minutes, but I realized there's no way for me to track time with my eyes closed. Oh, we're smart. So here's what I noticed. I could feel the energy moving, and then it kind of stopped at my waist. So I definitely would need probably another 10 minutes or so for it to get to my feet. Either that, or I've got some type of some root chakra blockage. I'm learning more about that. And your root chakra, I believe, is like your stability, right? Like it's, where everything, emanates from, because it's like, kind of at the base, right, of your trunk. So I either need to work on clearing that blockage, or like I said, work through it for another 10 minutes or so. But again, the silver waterfall meditation, and I believe that there are other versions of this. So if you're interested, you can either, buy this. And again, like there are other exercises related to different cards. But I like the introspection of this deck. So I actually don't really pull cards from this that often. I mostly just kind of go through it when I want to do some certain exercises. All right. So thank you for watching the playback. If you do, I'm still Deanne Battle. This is still the Composite. And this has been season 4, episode 13. Have a great weekend.